Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Black Men Matter series on the male perspective. The podcast that's all about dispelling stereotypes and shining a light on the rich and varied experiences of Black men from all around the world. Each episode aims to broaden understanding and foster appreciation for their unique stories that often go unheard. Now, here is your host, Lana Reed, to introduce you to yet another remarkable Black man with an insightful perspective to share.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reed, and today, on this day, I have the pleasure of sitting down with a gentleman by the name of Jesus Kimbrow. He is a minister, entrepreneur, and creator of a phenomenal, amazing support group for Black men, and I'm looking forward to spending some time with him today. But first and foremost, as I always do, sir, I take a quick moment to pause, say thank you to you for making time for me today. Time is a gift. Once we give it, we cannot get it back. So I truly appreciate you setting aside this time to talk a little old me. And with that, sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you for the platform. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, let me jump in because I got a little bit of time, and I wanna be nosy about you for a while today. So
That's all right.
let me go ahead and get this started here. As I said, you are a minister.
Yes, ma'am.
And if you have social media, tell it, sir. Being a pastor is this glitz and glamour kind of thing, but in reality, it can be kind of heavy, mentally heavy, extremely challenging. So I want to know what makes a man like Jesus Kimbrow say, "Hey, I want to be a pastor."
You know what, Ms. Reed, Ms. Lana, I'm gonna keep it real with you. It wasn't a choice that I wanted. To be honest, I received the call into ministry at the age of 16. I was teaching Bible study and all that good stuff. And right before I went to college, I had a conversation with God, and I was like, "This isn't." I didn't want to play with him. I knew it was a lot of growing up that I had to do. There were a lot, and I told him it was a lot of mistakes that I wanted to make.
You wanted to make.
That I wanted to make. So I wasn't going to play with the title because I was already conscious that, just through my experience and going to different conferences, I would see leaders that lived a contradictory life, and I didn't want to be that guy. But I got tired. God never did, and I went back to receive my call at the age of 30. And so now I've been licensed and ordained now for about 13 years, somewhere around there, over a decade, 12 to 13 years.
Do you come from a family of ministry work?
Yes, ma'am. Uncles, aunties, some of my lineage are celebrities, and they went into the ministry later on in life. So it's definitely been in the bloodline.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you. It is not anything that I would take on myself, and that's why there's special people like you. And that kind of brings me to my next question, because some of the work that you do is in the mental health space, making sure our head game is right and tight. And when it comes to pastors, there's a lot you gentlemen or you ladies carry too. Let me clear that up here.
Don't get canceled.
I know, right? Don't need that. I got a lot more work to do myself. But from dealing with the congregation and settling the fights between the usher board and preparing your sermons and stuff, how do you keep your mental head? How do you make sure you're okay and stewarding your mental health?
Ooh, that's a very good question. And I wish, honestly, that a lot of pastors, ministers would be more transparent. I could be only transparent about my journey. Like I said, been licensed and ordained for over a decade. And it's, my pastor, I follow my pastor. He started a church called Impact Church, St. Louis. And there was a lot of hands-on, getting the church off the ground. In the midst of that, I lost my dad in 2013, September 2013, and then turned around and lost my brother September of 2014. A week apart from each other. Well, a year and a week apart from each other. So I found myself functioning, right? In November of 2018, I hit a brick wall. And I had to be honest with myself. I had dinner with my lead pastor. Shout out to Ron Young. And I told him, I was like, my cup is empty. I don't have anything to give your congregation. Therefore, I don't think that, I think I should sit down for a little bit to replenish and to figure life out. I did start my therapy, my counseling in November 2018. And like most men, I was a little stubborn in the beginning. I wasted money for about 2 or 3 months of when I started it. But honestly, it was transformative. And I could tell people, especially like with the clothing line with Set Free, God really showed me light in the midst of my darkness. And it placed me in of awe, honestly, of how, as dark as I felt like I was, God still had me in mind, and he pulled this little, even with showing me a shadow. I'm trying not to preach, right?
Go ahead. Preach, Pastor. Preach. Take your time, Pastor. Take your time.
Yeah, but like, even with the beautiful thing of just having a shadow, the shadow was a reminder that the sun is still around you, the S-O-N and the S-U-N. So that was my moment of like, all right, God, like we finna have this Peter moment where I'm gonna allow you to pull me up out of the water. I took my eyes off of you. It wasn't anything intentional. It was just life. So, I took it, started the clothing line. I found myself having these independent conversations with Black men and trying to encourage them to go to therapy. A lot of them, they were surprised that I was so transparent. Now, again, this is in 2019, so we're not in the space where we are now. Yeah. A lot of people are more acceptable to it now.
Yeah.
But just encouraging the brothers and the sisters to go ahead and there's nothing wrong with getting a different perspective of life. Sometimes what I warn people about, because I also do non-licensed Christian counseling too, is in our culture. We get a lot of Black men, a lot of Black women. They're like, yo, I only want to go to a Black therapist, period, or a Black male therapist, and I get it. So don't hear what I'm not saying, but sometimes that leads into trauma bonding, and so to get that different perspective of, just maybe try this, it does help. So I've been an advocate of mental health. Since I guess you say roughly 2019 officially.
Okay. Now, before we started the interview today, we were talking about both of us are kind of from the South, right? So we've got some elders. I was talking about my elders, and we know that the old church folks, think differently when it comes to mental health and going to see a therapist and church settings. How do you balance mental health out and kind of cohesively combine them? Because a lot of old church folks say, we ain't going to talk to nobody about our problems.
I get it. Because I dealt with that a lot, but I tell people, I'm like, yo, I'm in my unfiltered uncle stage of life, right? so I'm just giving truth. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm being transparent. Even when I preach in my sermons, I talk about just my darkest moment. I talk about how literally, like, not even to do a play on words, how God set me free. So how dare I allow myself to be captive to other people's thoughts or other opinions, or even my self-doubt, when God literally gave me the keys and told me to go do your thing.
Awesome. I love it. Now, you mentioned Set Free a couple of times, so shed some light on Set Free, because you're a businessman, you got other things going on besides ministry, right?
Yes, ma'am. So Set Free is the clothing line. I call it the worship, not the worship. And again, it's just so symbolic of the darkest moment, and it's my everyday reminder of how God stood by his word. So it's well, I have the t-shirt on now ish. Yeah, that didn't work. That didn't work.
No. That's all right. We're gonna link it in though. We're gonna link it in.
Right. But the base scripture for the brand is 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 13, where it says, the Spirit of the Lord is the Spirit, and the Spirit of the Lord will give you freedom. So it is. And honestly, in the beginning when I set it up, I've talked to everybody. I love people. So, in the beginning, I had a lot of the LGBTQ plus community supporting me with the clothing line, because again, because of the barriers that have been placed on them within the church, it brought them of seeing God. So it's for everybody. It's for everybody.
Awesome, awesome. Where are you at? Where can we catch you on a Sunday?
So I'm in the St. Louis area.
St. Louis,
Missouri.
Missouri. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. So I'm originally from East St. Louis. Grew up in O'Fallon. That's a different podcast right there. Going from the hood, going from the hood to the burbs was an adjustment. It was a complete adjustment.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, right?
Definitely. Look, it took me a couple years to get the fresh part, but we but you know, but it definitely played a role in molding my perspective. I don't judge. One of my favorite sayings is that people are the way they are for a reason. So, you know, it could be, you know, childhood hurt. It could be just rejection in life. So I think my upbringing is what really kind of allowed me to have the mindset of having an open mind to people. So yeah. So the St. Louis area, East St. Louis, shout out, O'Fallon. Hello. And my mom is from Tennessee, so I used to spend my summers going down to Bells, Tennessee, right outside of Jackson. You know, catching dinner, taking care of the lawn, you know, dealing with the peaches and the peach preserves.
Good times, good days.
Oh yeah.
Young folks don't know about all of that, right?
No,
if it doesn't come in a package, they're like, "What? I got." I can't stick this in the microwave. No, you got to go out there and fetch it first. So yeah,
right.
So let me segue a little bit before I take up all your day here. Let me get all this in here. You have a phenomenal support group for Black men. Yes. And I was looking at some of the pictures, being nosy on Instagram. Amazing stuff. As we are taping this now, I think you have one coming up this weekend for Father's Day. And you kind of talked about this a little bit. I want to kind of unpack it a little bit more. But in today's times that we're living, there are some folks who want to push back on Black people having kind of exclusive spaces for us to kind of navigate in. What would you say to why Black men need their own exclusive space to unpack some stuff? And how come we can't invite everybody to the cookout?
Well, that is a very good question, because I've had some of my my white compadres ask that question, right? And just for the record, I counsel people, not just you know, but specifically this space is because Black men, and this is coming from my personal experience and the men that I've talked to, it's hard for us to feel safe. So just like even with the church, I always tell people, you can't just grab a new member and be like, hey, join this ministry. Like you can't do that. With Black men, we have to be able to trust you. We have to even to a certain extent. And we can, you know, it gives us that space to open up a little bit. You know what I mean? So, you know, we start with this because it gives us room to have a place where other men can understand where we're coming from in our culture. And it's important for us to redefine ourselves in our own culture as well. You know, so, you know, like I'll give you an example, because again, this is year 3 and some months for the support group. We had at one point this. Well, let me back up. Let me give you the full spectrum. So the support group, we're partnered with Hope Wellness Center in Swansea, Illinois. So one of the things that we do is we refer any man that's interested in. I'm gonna get to that part. Any man that's interested in like getting a referral to a therapist, we have that pipeline. Shout out to Mindy, shout out to Nadia for giving us the space and opportunity to do it, which ironically is, you know, is owned by a Middle Eastern woman and a white woman, you know, that felt our heart, you know, that saw what we needed. So we use that base as a referral. Fortunately, we've had several men start therapy because they're like, okay, we see the perspective of it now. And it's like, it's our bragging moment, right? That we're on this path of healing. We're on this path of understanding, and so much more. Last year, I did my first TED Talk and it was around the time of the election, and the title was it was the Set Free State of Man, and it was based upon the male identity. Because we've been given so many wrong definitions of what a man is. Just because you were born with a penis doesn't make you a man.
True.
I mean, I'm a little bit of a comedian too. I mean, these days you got some people that are born with a penis and identify other ways too. So, so I mean, like it just puts it into perspective, which is another reason why this year we're also doing another TED Talk conference in November. This one is titled "Set Free. I'm Hurt, but I'm Healing," because it's just a lot of people that's on that journey. So it's a lot to unpack. We're getting ready to. I'm excited because my partners, James and Shannon, shout out James and Shannon, with Headspace, we're getting ready to expand our group to women. So we're hopefully within the next month or two, we're going to have their own sessions as well.
Okay. So how often do you guys meet?
Once a month right now.
Oh, so we just in limbo for the rest. What?
No, so we have, and that's what they said too, right? So we have a text thread where we check up on each other, we encourage one another. If somebody has like graduation or track meets, because actually last year it was strictly for men. We've opened it up, so now we're 13 and up, and we're learning something from these young men who lack father figures, who lack positive role models. And we try our best. We don't try to give them perfection. We just try to give them a healthy jump start outside of barbershop talk and explicit words. So
yeah, because some of the barbershop talk is kind of toxic. I've sat in there a couple times.
Look, if I hear about one more alpha male and beta male, and this, no judgment. I listen, but I don't judge. But I'm the kind of person where, again, I like to look a little bit. So if I tell you something, I'm not going to just tell you something surface level, because, again, let's just be honest. We've seen that in ministry, right? Where some pastors have thrown out a blanket sermon or a blanket, quote or whatever, and they're not looking at the depths of it. And I'll use as an example, like the fig tree in the Bible. For those who are familiar with the Bible, it's called the cursed fig tree. And the purpose of Christ cursing that fig tree is because it wasn't doing what it was supposed to do.
Not bearing any fruit.
Exactly. It was existing. So, Lana, how many people do you know that are purely existing? They're refusing to live, and a part of living is growth. So it all ties in.
Yeah, which pastor was that said the richest place is the graveyard, because all those dreams are sitting there dead. So yeah,
absolutely. And that's one reason too why I'm grateful. I'm glad you said that too. With having the opportunity to pitch the curriculum for the support group to a couple of universities. I'm not going to say their names yet. Until everything is finalized. I'm gonna be bothering you like, hey, can I get back on?
You sure can. So what will that? Because I know you. So right now you're meeting once a month. So what will the curriculum look like for you?
So the drawn out curriculum that God gave me, honestly, I didn't create it. God gave it to me. It's a 12-week course. And again, it's all fundamentals, because I believe taking it back to the fundamentals of identity, how to regulate your emotions, how to identify, like it's with a lot of men, unfortunately, the only emotion that we're used to showing is anger. Or crying at a funeral. But what does the in between look like? What does it look like when your woman leaves you? What does it look like when you get fired from a job? What does it look like when life just lets you down? So we all come together to find a way to articulate that, and then get to the result of how we move on to the next stage.
See, back in the day, my grandfathers and uncles used to go fishing, but now we got support group spaces where you guys can come together.
Look, hey, everything. Look, the economy going up. You need a license for everything. Them fishing licenses.
Okay, we gonna all hang out and go fishing together,
right,
but now
right.
we got to do that. I love it.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Now let me tap into something you said, because you mentioned Headspace, and I want to make sure I'm clear. Now, is Headspace the support group, or is that something else?
Headspace is a support group.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that one, it's strictly for the support group. Again, we range from 13 and up. Our youngest is 13. Our oldest is 75.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
because usually the
And we
old
are
dogs, you get stubborn with it, right?
right.
I ain't gonna come in here
We
and
are.
sit down.
You know what? There was one meeting that we had with the elder, and he was giving marriage because we talk about everything. Every group has a different topic.
Mm,
In this one, we were talking about marriage. I can't go into details of it, and
true.
I can't quote what the elder said. But Ms. Lana, I've never been married, but it stuck with me because one of the gentlemen was just talking about being at the wit's end and not knowing what to do with his wife, and the older gentleman looked at him and he said, and I'm saying this nicely. He's
Mm.
like, does your wife have a vagina? Does she have a vagina? He said the other word, and I'm in awe, right? And so the guy looking like, yeah. And he was like, good, because she don't need another one. He was like, stay in your marriage and work it out. If you're tired of being with your wife, then divorce her. Stop playing with her. Stuck with me, and I'm like, you know what? Solid advice from the unfiltered uncle.
My next question I have for you, and this is building on you having the support space for Black men. You are a brother who has raised a son, done a
Mhm.
phenomenal job from the pictures that I see.
Thank
And
you.
this is a two-part question. What have been the rewards and what have been the challenges of raising the next generation of Black men?
You are on it with these good questions. The reward is, honestly, the reward is just seeing that although me and Jalen's mom, shout out to Jalen Christopher, it's my son. He's an actor up. I'm going to talk
Mhm.
about that soon. But to be able to show our community that two parents who weren't together, because we were never together,
Mhm.
but we chose to parent, right, and we chose to show our son healthy relationship. Shout out to
Mhm.
Sharon, his mom,
Mhm. Mhm.
and that's what we did. Like, because my son was born in 2001, so that was the height of like baby mama drama, baby daddy drama,
Mhm.
girl get what you can,
Mhm.
and we did have bumps in the road, but it was nothing where there was ever disrespect involved.
Awesome. Awesome.
So the reward of seeing that he grew up. I mean, like he grew up and saw it. I've guided him in everything and supported him in everything that he wanted to do. I was a local athlete back in my day.
Mm.
So the pressure was passed down to him to play sports, and he tried it. And I'll never forget when he was 12. He looked at me. He was like, "Dad, I don't have the heart to play sports." He was good. He just didn't have the heart. And
Mhm.
so I took a step back and, I pulled a page out of my parents. I'm like, all right, but you're going to do something, like
Hey.
you're not going, and so he tried to figure it out. He did play around like with volleyball, which was an adjustment for a football
Mhm.
player, right? Um,
Yeah.
but, but I think I ended up getting more into it than he did. So, but he ended up finding theater. In high school, and with that led to public speaking. He got a $25,000 scholarship going into his freshman year in college, along with the full ride from the University of Illinois. And he
Okay.
was sought out. So, for him to find his own space and to be
Mm.
comfortable in it, but yet, he's one of my best friends. My mom, my other best friend. So,
Mm.
so just to see him just flourish. Right now he's in Bloomington, starring in Hamlet. And
Mhm.
he's the first Black 23-year-old that particular theater has ever had star as Hamlet in Hamlet. So
Beautiful.
yeah. So just to see
Proud
that.
daddy.
Oh, I am. I
Mm.
would brag on him to look to my last breath. Now,
Okay. Oh,
now I
beautiful.
would say, huh?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, now the challenges of it was again, with us not being his mom and I not being together, missing that first step, making him breakfast in the morning. But I had to overlook the small things and see that it was a bigger picture, um, for not just his life, but again for what the community could see. And again, it was a thriving force. Now, technically, my son is a PK, so you have moments of those uncomfortable questions. But again, another moment of remembering. He was about 11. Asked me about me and his mom not being together. And because at that point he started to notice that his other friends had two-parent homes. And we both explained to him that we chose him, um, out of anything. And we wanted him to have all the support that he could in the most healthy way. So to have that moment when he's 11 to just earlier this year, we're sitting in the driveway at his mom's house because we went to the movies, and he thanked me. He thanked me and his mom for giving us the best and not trying to force a square into a circle. And not saying that that's not the case for everybody. That's clearly not the case for everybody.
Yeah,
but yeah, so that was
Yeah, okay. Say, look,
I could talk about them all day.
Yeah, I can see the pride, and that's beautiful. It's like, okay, I realize y'all couldn't be together, but y'all still meshed something together for, the benefit, and it wasn't as toxic as some of the other stuff I've seen. So, to have that level of appreciation, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
I'll be working on that book within the next year.
Okay, all right, we'll be looking for it. Now, I want to backtrack to something you said. You said, you love your mama. Are you the baby boy?
No, so
usually it's the baby boy. I was just,
you know what? I am the baby boy, but I'm not the baby. So I have two older brothers. Like I said, one passed in 2014.
Okay.
And then I have another brother named Tony, and then I have a younger sister named 𝗃𝗄. So she's the baby.
Oh, okay, but you're the baby boy.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. Ma'am. I was like, all right, okay, that's why the mama. I love my mama. Okay.
Oh, that's my girl. That's my girl. I had to give it. I had to sit her down and talk to her. Like, Mom, I'm about to go into this interview. I just, let me go ahead and turn on what's it, Beyond the Gates. Let me go and we get recording on Beyond the Gates.
That today's version of the stories, right? Back in the day,
right?
We are the stories. Oh, that's too cute.
We're gonna keep away from Divorced Housewives or whatever the name of that show is.
Oh yeah. Please, we don't want her to, hear. Oh boy, and if she's is church elder, she's clutching her pearls with that.
She would not be surprised. Look, one thing about me is like, kind of like talking about when I said I wanted to make those mistakes. So, I went into college and found my way into the world of music. So I actually did marketing in management for over a decade in the music industry. So I worked with 𝗵𝗆𝗀 Records. I worked with Sony Records. Worked for Russell Simmons Music Group at one point. Cash Money. So it's,
oh, you were in that world.
Oh yeah, I was in that world. I was in that world. But the crazy part about it is the entire time, it was the thing of people always saying that I seem different. And to be honest, it was my insecurities at the time, because I'm a strong 5'7.25", right? So I was so I actually got into the music industry professionally at the age of 19. So with my own insecurities, I'm like, are you trying to just say I'm young, or is it a short thing? So I tried my best to grow a beard, and show that I belonged in the room. And so throughout the entire journey, like I say, constantly hearing the same thing, being able to share faith throughout the years with a lot of celebrities, and then even with, I was part owner, or ran a tattoo shop over here in St. Louis at one point, with my former partner Roland. We did a lot of community stuff. We used to put a platform up for like Nelly and them back in the day. So before Little Nelly. I mean, Little Nelly, not Big Nelly. He's just for him and the St. Lunatics. But yeah, I mean, it's just always been called different, and trying to figure it out. Like I said, I just got tired of running, and I finally picked up the phone and answered the call.
There you go. It's like Jonah hiding out in that well, right? Like, okay, God's just sitting there waiting. Okay, I'm gonna wait, and I'm gonna make him spit you out, and you're gonna do what I told you to do, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now I'm over here in Nineveh.
There you go. One last question before I ask you my random question, and I want to And this goes into your son, because you know that seems to bring out the biggest smile on your face. You have done an amazing job with your son. You and his mother have, well, let me stop. You, his mother, and the village that surrounds him.
Absolutely, the village
has done an amazing job with him. And navigating today's parenting world can be a little challenging, and you have a support group for men. So any advice, encouragement, tips for a brother trying to navigate this parenting space?
Be transparent. Be transparent with your child. Because one thing that I tried to do at one point was hide my past from my son. In everything that and when I say hide my past, I mean I tried to hide, because I did tattoos at one point. So I tried to hide art from him. I tried to hide music from him. And I promise you, everything that I tried to keep him from, he naturally gravitated to it. He was like in the 3rd grade making wallets out of tape and trying to sell it. You know what I mean? Like, and then at one point, he was actually ranked in the state of Illinois for the alto sax. So, so everything that I tried to keep him from, he just naturally did it. But I will also say, recognize the stages that your children are in, because absolutely, you'll always be the parent, right? But at some point, you need to transition from or to parent/mentor, where there is a safe place to have all kind of conversations. You know, with my son being one of faith, it's a little bit difficult. It's a little rocky for him right now, because I was unaware of, in the theater, there's a lot of atheists. You know what I mean? So for the past couple of months, it's been a lot of spiritual conversations. Yeah. So, you know, just don't be quick to judge, and understand that, you know, regardless of how old they are, you have to trust that you did a good job to raise them, and they'll be able to make those decisions on their own.
All right. So next we need to have, in addition to the book, we need to have some father-son podcast, or maybe some standing on stage together, you know, talking about the whole experience, because you can just see the light illuminated from you when you talk about them. It's so beautiful. And I think a lot of people won't see that, because like I said, navigating this parenting space in today's world is so challenging. So challenging. Well, so let me ask my random question. I think I have took up enough of your time today and been as nosy as I could possibly. Since I know the ladies can't come into the support space, to be a fly on the wall and hear what the gentleman talking about, you know.
We're working on that. We're working on that.
I don't want to be there when the old man talking about that stuff he's talking about. I don't want to be there for that one, but you know, the other stuff.
I'm about to fly you out and have you in on one of our co-eds.
All right. As long as that brother who ain't just saying that word, I'll do that.
He won't.
All right. Let me see here. You're in, wait a minute, let me make sure. You're in St. Louis now, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but you said your son is in Illinois, right?
Well, so I live in 𝗃𝗀𝘀𝘂, Illinois, which is about 10, 15 minutes east of St. Louis. So we just narrowed down to St. Louis, since we're so close.
So from my travels, there's some good food spots. Okay. So best place you've had a burger at?
Wow. Best burger, honestly, Rustic, down in Houston. I went to the Cry Out conference with Keon Henderson. The beginning of May, end of April, and randomly walked into Rustic, and I was side-eyeing it a little bit, but I tried it. That was the best burger I've ever had.
Okay, all right. So next time we're in Houston, all righty. Well, Pastor Jesus Kimbrow.
The pressure.
Jesus Kimbrow. That was just out the womb. Mom just gave you just calling and pressure. Like you had a name to live up to.
Yeah, my dad named me. So clearly we're Cardinal fans. Back in the 70s, there were these two brothers that played for the Cardinals, and one of the names was Jesus. So you know, he got the longest straw where he got a chance to name me, because, you know, clearly I named my brothers and my sister name. I have Keisha, Tony, and Andre, and I'm the only Jesus. So right. And then to make it, you know, the add on to it, my cousin, lover Jackie, she created my middle name, which is 𝗃𝗀𝘀. So
yeah. What's the nickname? Do they call you a nickname? The family got a
Zeus.
nickname? Oh, Zeus? Okay, Zeus.
My mom hates it, but everyone calls me Zeus though.
Okay. What's wrong with Zeus?
She's like, that's not what they named me. So
Okay. Yeah, my grandmother before she passed, if you had a nickname that he was born John, I'm gonna call him John. I ain't gonna call that's not the name. So
yep.
I understand.
I knew you were my spirit animal.
I understand. Well, sir, tell us how we connect with you. We got gear to pick up. We gotta, see when we're gonna enroll in college and take the classes. Just, just tell us how we connect with you.
Well, one way to connect, Impact Church St. Louis is my home. Is 𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗀.com. The website for the Set Free clothing line, we have hoodies, t-shirts, we have sweatshirts. I just open it up to button-up shirts. So we're into the fashion market, but that's setfreeministry.net. I'm on Facebook, 𝗃_Jesus. I'm on Facebook, Jesus. I'm old school. I have Facebook still. And just Jesus Kimbrow. So
okay. What time is service on Sundays?
So we have 2 services on Sunday. The first one is at 9 a.m. Then the second one starts at 11:15. Again, shout out to Pastor Ron Young. Shout out to Sandy, my whole Set Free team, Cherie, Jen, all of them.
Awesome. Well, I have enjoyed my time with you today, Pastor. You took your time and preach, Pastor, preach just all it. I had me a good old time. And I just want to say thank you for the work that you are doing. It takes a lot to answer the call. And not only beyond that, just pour into people. I mean, like I said, it's thank you for the work that you are doing and how you are blessing this world with your ministry. So from the low me, I appreciate you.
I appreciate being recognized. I'm just a humble, imperfect young man that just happened to get called.
Yeah, doing a wonderful job at it.
Thank you.
Awesome.
You better be careful. I might be your co-host in about 3 months.
No, that's all right. We accept all.
But blessings to you and your family. Look, what you're doing, even to take the time to acknowledge the male perspective is super needed. It's super dope. It is a safe place for us, for even a woman to just take the time to ask us why, right? Mm-hmm. To pick our brain. It means a lot. So your work is definitely going a long way, and I'm fully supporting you.
Thank you so much. That truly means a lot, because it has been a journey. It has.
Yes, ma'am.
That is all for this week's episode of The Male Perspective. I'm your host, Lana Reed, and I will see everybody next time.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Black Men Matter series on The Male Perspective. This podcast is an initiative of Conversations in Color, a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to uplifting Black voices. Make sure to check out our website, conversationsincolor.org. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platforms. We'll see you on the next episode.